Today, we are joined by the wonderful Andrea Collins. Andrea, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, for everyone at home, and if you don't know Andrea, she's been recruiting for over 20 years. For the last 10, it's been solely rec to rec. So she's the eyes and ears of our industry. She knows what's going on more than anyone else. And I love talking to rec to rec because genuinely, I guess you've got a
Mhm.
front row seat to what's actually happening in every agency, what pockets are pumping, what's dying, yada, yada. And that's really what I want to get into today. So thanks for jumping on. You know what? I'll start by saying we're recording this in the week of the census, right? So I kind of want to view this in some ways, kind of like the census, where you're kind of taking data from now, a snapshot of today, and comparing it to say like 5 years ago. And I thought that might be a nice way to look at the
Mhm.
recruiter market. You know, now we're well and truly out of COVID.
Yeah.
What are the differences in those markets? So I guess I
Right.
just wanted to start by saying, where do you recruit? Give us a sense of where and what you recruit in terms of recruiter land, and then that might help us understand the information you give us today.
Sure. So I recruit across Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane, pretty much across all market sectors. But the ones I do quite a lot of work in are executive search, marketing and communications, accounting and finance, business support, all across technology, manufacturing. So all the main sectors.
Okay, so you're saying that you somewhat that's not specializing because there's a few sectors there, but you gravitate to certain sector of recruiter.
Yeah, no, I do. No, it's sort of, it is broad. I do a broad range across that rec to rec space. And I
Brilliant.
guess the area that if I was to say where do I specialize, I'm actually attracting a lot of senior recruiters across all those market sectors. So I think because I've been
Okay.
in it for so long,
Uh,
I am getting a lot of referrals and my network is pretty strong now. So
Brilliant.
it is the more senior recruiters that I'm taking out to market for those roles across all those sectors.
Tell me then, what are they typically coming to you and talking to you about? Are they saying I'm ready to go, or are they coming to you earlier on and saying, look, I think my time's up, or what are your thoughts? Like, what do they come and talk to you about, and what are you typically seeing they're looking for at the moment?
Sure, there's a couple of different themes. What are they coming to talk to me about? I've got a real run of senior recruiters at the moment that are looking for a rebirth. So they're not necessarily too disgruntled, but a lot
Yeah.
of these recruiters are actually women that have potentially they've raised their children. They've either
Brilliant.
raised their children or their children have just started secondary school and they're like, I am ready to go again. What have you got for me? I
Yeah.
want to be excited again. I want new leadership. I'm ready to have a career path laid out for me. I'm not just going to work to earn money anymore. I'm ready to go again. And they're looking for a fresh environment to do that in. But yeah,
Brilliant.
there's definitely a lot of recruiters I'm speaking to at the moment that they're looking for a rebirth.
Okay, that's super. Is there something in particular, like you talk about them, but like, are they looking? Are they like the thing that comes to mind for me when you say that is, oh, maybe they've been in the same place for 10 years. Maybe that agency hasn't evolved with the times. Is that what they're looking for? Like AI first, agencies like a new founder. I guess I don't know,
Yes.
like a particular market, or is it just a mix?
Yeah. Definitely a few different things. Some of them would be their le fresh leadership, and leadership that are investing in AI and that are
Brilliant.
investing in productivity.
Brilliant.
Those senior recruiters are really analyzing where their time is spent and what tasks could potentially be taken away and where could AI and all that sort of and automation be used. They're questioning the structures behind their workflow.
Yeah.
And those that are, if you've got an offer where productivity can be really heightened, it's a real draw card for
Okay.
recruiters. They're also looking at their ownership, who owns their agency and who's running their agency. And they're looking at them and going, right, are you going to be moving with the times or are you cost cutting or are you investing? And are you
Mm,
investing in AI and automation? And are you investing in increasing my productivity? And if the answer is no, then they're certainly looking at, well, where can I move? Where I can actually move my career forward and be given the right tools to move my career forward. Because the other thing too is, if you're a senior recruiter and the investment is not being made in the AI and the automation now, the types of staff under you that you're attracting potentially aren't that strong, or they're being attracted into the roles and you're training and developing them, and then they're moving on after 12 months because there's a more attractive offer out there. So it's not only affecting you, but it's affecting the flow through of recruiters under you as well.
If you can think of, if you can think of two agencies that you're aware of, and you don't have to name names, what does a company who's not doing it well look like? And what does a company who is actually doing it well look like? And more importantly, the ones doing it well, I feel like you can overcook it as well. What's that happy medium of tech, efficiency? Like, what does that package look like? So I want you to think of those two agencies and I'd love you to just go, okay, let's just start with who's not doing it well. What is it? It's probably just stale, old, not investing, as you say. I'd love to know what the one who's doing it well, what that is, what that actually means, what that looks like. Are they a big agency? Are they a small agency? Are they, have they just got the right balance of recruiter and tech? Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah. I think if we were just to choose one thing, where an agency that's doing it well and an agency that's not doing it so well, it would be the external PR piece. Because there's some agencies that are really investing in external PR and external branding, and then others that just are not. And it's all tied into relationships, building our clients, the image of when you're building out your teams, the investment of partnering with your own personal brand and the brand that you're working for, and really having that level of support when you're pitching for work, you're going out to clients, you're doing that at candidate attraction piece for your workflow. There is a real divide at the moment in regards to agencies that are investing in that PR piece and ones that aren't. And usually the ones that aren't are also the ones that are not investing in those behind the scenes automation and AI tasks as well. There is a real link. I think the senior recruiters shouldn't be typing out reference checks. They shouldn't be making candidate notes on the systems anymore. They should have a lot of support with AI, with long lists that they produce for their clients. And there's usually a link between external PR and the investment going into that, and then what's happening behind the scenes with data, AI, and automation.
Interesting. What's your litmus test on the sector, the recruitment sector in general for agents? Are we in a good phase at the moment? Are we busy? Are we quiet? And what's your sense at the moment?
Sure. There's a real disconnect between Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane. So my clients that have Melbourne offices that also have Sydney and Brisbane offices, there's it's very evident that Melbourne is lagging behind Sydney and Brisbane. The other thing is the executive recruitment market is really busy at the moment, and it's a hard one to measure because they're not advertising on Seek. They're not. A lot of those jobs are not being advertised for the naked eye to see. But a lot of my clients in the executive search space have never been busier, and I think a lot of private enterprises are investing in that top end talent as they navigate the change that we're all going through. So that's certainly a trend. But I think a trend that I'm seeing and will continue to see is that relationships have never been more important. So with all the AI and data and automation, that's great and that helps with our process, but how do you actually get that job on, and how do you actually fill that job? So the relationship part of it, the relationships have never been as important, and they're going to get more important over the next 4 or 5 years as we go through this stage of change that we're going through, because they're actually going to be really hard to get and cement in the next 4 to 5 years.
So in terms of relationship building, who's doing it well? Is this again coming back to the PR piece, and that's sort of like the avenue in for relationships, or are agencies hoping that recruiters coming on board will bring those with them, or is there a mixture? What are you saying?
With the relationship piece, the agencies that are doing it well are the agencies whose owners and directors and those at the partner level are out in front of their clients.
Yeah,
Those higher end executives within the agencies, the ones who are out with their clients, they're the ones doing it really well, because that's where the collaboration starts. That's where
yeah,
the relationships are being held, and that's where they sort
yeah.
of filter down to the rest of the organization. Recruiters that are reporting into people that aren't out on client visits, aren't doing the introductions, don't hold the relationships, they're the ones that are struggling in this market.
Interesting. And they're the ones at risk of losing that market because the recruiter goes, well, bugger it, I'll go. And they probably take a lot of the relationships as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What I've heard a lot of murmurs that the graduate level, right? It's because some of these bigger firms are shrinking. Hudson's gone, it leaves this gap for developing new talent coming through. Are you seeing that through some of the lower levels? Is that presenting in any strange way, or is that just gossip?
Yeah. No, it's true. There's a real
Yeah.
gap in the market with the graduate level. A lot of the big brands have like really reduced the graduate intake.
Mhm.
And I guess those brands are always a bit of a poaching ground for us, Rec to Rex. We love to go in there when they've done their first 12 months and pull them out and
Yeah.
take them somewhere else. So that sort of market is missing at the
Mhm.
moment. There are certain brands that are doing the graduates and getting in there and training and developing them. And those brands are seeing natural growth through their internal structures.
Mhm.
But in the rec to rec market, we're dealing with a lot of clients or agencies that would love someone with that 12 months experience, but they're just not around to go and get. They're just not around at the volumes they once were.
Yeah. How does that? What's the flow-on effect of that? Do you think?
The flow-on effect of that is that, it's a tough one. The flow-on effect of that is the demand for senior talent is really strong.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of agencies will put someone on as a candidate manager now rather than a 360 recruiter to try and combat some of the busyness of their roles.
Yeah.
But I guess the side effect of it all is that agencies just aren't getting that growth. So they're not growing. They're still managing the workflow, but they're not growing. And the agencies that are able to sponsor those coming from the UK are certainly getting the growth without the graduate intake.
Yeah.
But the agencies that are not investing in agency and not investing in taking those coming over on the working holiday visas are certainly missing out, and the growth is being stunted for sure.
Interesting. Best commission structure you see out there at the moment?
Sure, I don't want to name names,
No.
but there's a couple of great boutiques that I work with that make it so good that you won't go out on your own. And those structures do exist. They certainly start at 30% and they go up to 45 or 50%, but they're geared up to high performance. So you're really remunerated well when you have those really big quarters. So if you're doing, 750 or $1 million, you look at your take home and you're like, why would I go out on my own? So there are some agencies that are doing that really well. What we're seeing in the bigger brands is they're reducing their commission, hence why there's a lot of move from the bigger brands at the moment. Their overheads and their costs have escalated, but we're seeing a reduction in commissions across those bigger brands. But the boutiques are still offering really lucrative commission structures.
Wow. It's like they're creating their own death, their own demise there.
Yes.
What? All right. Look, I like to keep these episodes short. There's just so much gold coming here. I'm loving every second of this. But I will end this up with one last question: is if you had a crystal ball, next census, which will be what, 2031, where is the Australian recruitment market? That's a big question. What do you see? What's on the horizon? Yeah, what's on the horizon?
I think transactional recruitment, will be very minimal. And I think that executive search firms will be bigger, and they will be your go-to as an agency. I think relationships, if you don't have relationships, it's going to be very hard to break into the industry. But I do think the transactional side of things will be quite minimal, and the executive side will be bigger and better executive search firms coming into the market. And I think if we're to follow the trend of what we're seeing in the big accounting firms, fees may have to start to be discounted at some point because of all the AI and automation and data that we can get quickly. But we still will be there to find the actual talent, but getting that talent and the documentation and the commentary across will be a lot easier. So I do think we'll see a reduction in fees.
Do you think you'll still be doing rec to rec in 5 years' time?
Absolutely. The recruiters are so hard to find, but they'll be more senior, they'll be more qualified, and they'll all be sector specialists, and they'll be in very high demand.
Love it. Look, I appreciate you coming on. For everyone at home, this is not a paid advertisement for Andrea. So look, go and have a chat with her. I think she's got a lot of intel. Where are you based, Andrea? You're in Melbourne.
I'm in Melbourne, but I spend a bit of time in Sydney and Brisbane as well.
Amazing. So if you're in Melbourne, go and grab a coffee with her. If you're anywhere else, give her a bell. This is fantastic. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this, and I appreciate you coming on.
Great. No, thanks for having me, Brent. It was enjoyable. Thank you.